Hey guys, today on the podcast, we are talking to April, who is our resident postpartum doula here at Latched Mama. We're going to talk about postpartum doulas, what they do, why they're important, and other things that you can do to prepare for the postpartum if you do not have a doula. Hope you like it. You're listening to the Latched Mama podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, business owner and tired mom of 5. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, nursing, parenting, and all things motherhood. We are talking today about postpartum stuff. Oh, the many, many postpartum topics that there are. But we are going to start today by talking about postpartum doulas. We recently had a birth doula on the podcast who will continue to come back to answer some questions. And we are lucky enough at Latched Mama to have a resident postpartum doula, which when April originally joined our team, I didn't realize how much of a bonus her postpartum mothering skills would be to me and everybody else. But April is here today to talk about what a postpartum doula is, how much they cost, how to get one, and then if you can't quite afford one, what are some really important things you can do in preparation for the birth to help you feel more prepared kind of in the postpartum, and some things you might be able to line up if you don't actually have a postpartum doula yourself. So hi, April.
Hi.
It's so nice to hang out with you.
Yeah, you too.
So for those of you who don't know, once you have a baby, the whole world kind of changes in a very, very beautiful, wonderful way. And whether it's your first baby or your 10th baby, there is always an adjustment period. I laugh around the office. Somebody will ask me how old Catherine is. And if somebody else answers and shorts me a couple of weeks and says, she's 3 months, 2 weeks old, but she's actually 4 months old, I will interrupt them immediately and tell them that I've earned every single bit of those 4 months. Because it is difficult and it's hard. And I think that we're living in a society right now where we don't necessarily make it a priority to support our moms once they have the baby. It's all about them while they're pregnant, and then they have the baby and it becomes all about the baby. And I think in some ways we have been kind of taught to think that way while we're pregnant too, and then forget the fact that we need some basic things once we become moms again ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about what a postpartum doula is, what your kind of scope of practice is, how you got into it, all that jazz.
Sure. Okay. So I guess I'll start with what gave me the heart for what it is. My first child was very, very difficult in the sense that I think she had some undiagnosed colic or something going on. There was definitely, or I guess reflux, definitely a lot of major spitting up, very fussy, just could never quite settle very well. So I just remember being at home by myself, living far away from family, and then just holding this baby and bouncing and trying to swaddle and trying to get her to calm down and not really knowing what I was doing. And I'd been around babies my entire life. So yeah. I just didn't understand what was happening and why this was not something I could succeed at.
Yeah.
And figure out. And it's as soon as you get her settled down and you try to put her down, for example, she'd wake back
Absolutely.
up and just hungry. I'm hungry. She's hungry. We're both tired. We both need showers and baths. And
we laugh. April and I laugh around the office that our introduction to motherhood was very, very similar because I had a super colicky, refluxy baby as my first child as well. And I just thought that's what motherhood was, and I thought that, this was so hard. It was by far the hardest thing that I had ever had to do in terms of surviving that first 6 months to first year with him because he never, ever, ever settled down.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. I didn't know what a postpartum doula was. I knew nothing.
Yeah. So I think, and my subsequent 2 kids were super easy dreams. So it made me realize, oh, okay, that was not probably the norm. And there were maybe some things I could have done or some help I could have gotten, but I didn't know to ask, and I didn't know what I was needing to ask, like what I needed to ask for.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so I got into this business, and I absolutely loved being able to go into families' homes with a little perspective, with a lot of knowledge. Postpartum doulas get trained on evidence-based information. So I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm giving you evidence-based factual information.
For the mom to then make her own educated decision on whatever the topic is.
So my goal is not for you to parent the way I parent. It's for you to find your way. As a mom or as parents on how you're going to take care of your brand new baby. So it's really fun to kind of watch parents try on different parenting styles and different approaches and figure out what's best for them, while you're arming them with information, and giving them some time and confidence building along the way as they're trying to figure out, how they're going to parent this child. So it's real practical stuff, like tips on soothing an infant, or maybe checking latch for if you're nursing. A lot of newborn, like, is this normal kind of newborn questions that parents ask? And then it's real practical assistance as well. So one of the first things I would do is go in and say, how was your night last night? So you can get a lot of information out of that.
What a loaded question to a new mom, for sure. Oh,
so how was your night? And so then they'll explain, how things went, maybe how little of sleep they got, what happened, what their frustrations may be. And then we'll talk about, like, say, some basic goals. So this is like, do you want to get a shower while I'm here? Would you like to take a nap? And then what questions do you have? So it's just kind of being there. It's a lot of couch time, just kind of sitting and letting them process.
Because it can be a super lonely time.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be a super isolating, lonely time, because you can look at your partner and you can ask for help, or you can explain how you're feeling. But it's so different than actually having another mother there, another female there that can really remember how it all feels, Right.
And I think what's different about a postpartum doula as opposed to a friend or a family member is, again, that piece where I'm not trying to put my beliefs or the way I did something. I'm not trying to justify that to you and then try to talk you into the fact that that's something you should do too. It's letting you develop your own way that you're going to go about this new journey that you're on. So I think postpartum doulas first focus on the mom. So I want to make sure that she is feeling supported, that she's getting what she needs, whether that be, like I said, that nap, or I'll make her some lunch, just some basic things like that. And then kind of next comes the baby. So what questions do you have about the baby? And just helping them also with a lot of firsts. So like that first bath, or that first trip to Target, or...
Do you you've gone to Target with moms?
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Because that can be scary. What am I going to do with this baby? Like, I have this big carrier now, or I've got this brand new baby wearing contraption. Like, how am I going to do all of that
It's taking
stuff?
me right back to 8 years ago and being so overwhelmed. I mean, it's such a crazy, crazy time, but what's so hard for me is that there was nobody there to tell me how normal feeling overwhelmed was. And it sounds like, you can be beside somebody and saying, hey, you know what? You're doing a great job. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out
this
together.
Is a lot. You're feeling like this is a lot, and that's because it is. It's okay.
Yeah.
But then that's where you do get to throw in, like, some little tricks, like, hey, park closer to the cart rack or the cart corral. So that you don't have to keep going back and forth, or you can put the baby in the car, and then you're right there to put your cart away.
Yeah, or tie your like Moby wrap or whatever it is that you're wearing before you get in the car.
Yeah.
And then you drive there and it's all ready.
Yes.
You know, I learned that
Yeah.
pretty far into the process, but I learned that was a much
super
easier thing.
smart. So just some little, also because I've been there and done that, like some real practical things too. So then we also talk about, you know, how are things going with your partner, your husband? So that there's a huge identity change and role adjustment that needs to be made. And so I think a valuable thing that a postpartum doula can do is to just be that sounding board as well when it comes to the dad, the partner, the husband, the other piece.
Because every relationship's changing. I mean, the mom's getting to know the baby, but then there's also a dramatic shift regardless, like I said, if it's number 1 or number 5 in the partner's relationship as well.
Yeah.
That it sounds like you get to be there and help kind of navigate that as well.
Right. So giving, maybe just, like I said, being that sounding board or that listening ear, maybe giving some ideas. Sometimes moms feel like they have to take on all of the responsibility for caring for this baby. And they may not even voice what it is that they need or what they're feeling by taking on that burden. And it's not burden, you know what I mean though, but like that responsibility.
Absolutely.
So, maybe even helping them like process and work through what is it that you could, let's just say, you know, it's your husband. What is it that you could ask your husband to do when he comes home from work? What is it that you need? Maybe it's that he takes care of the baby and you go get a shower, or you go take a walk. Or something my husband did, which was so nice, was in the middle of the night, I was very slow to get moving. It was always like, what's happening? What's going on? And he was a light sleeper. So he would jump up, he would get my babies, he would change their diaper.
So nice.
And then he would bring them to me. So then he'd go back to bed, but then I would nurse them. And it just gave me a little bit more time to just figure out like what's happening, what's going on. And that made me feel very supported. I did not feel alone in the middle of the night. Though he had gone back to bed, I did feel like he helped me make that adjustment and just that 5-10 extra minutes that he took to be with us for that moment.
Absolutely.
You know, so whatever that might be for you. A lot of times I advocate like, hey, let's make sure that dad has like a job, because sometimes guys don't always bond really easily at the beginning. With newborns, that can be a little harder for them. They like a little bit more feedback.
Absolutely.
So what's something that they can do that's kind of their job? Maybe that's bath time, or maybe that's taking the baby for a walk, or something or maybe tummy time, like something that's their thing that they take ownership of and they really enjoy getting to do. Yeah,
it's taken me 10 years and 5 babies to realize that my partner, I mean, who knows if it's a male thing in general, really like direction. And like if you give them a specific job, they're going to do it. And it's amazing. And
they'll get like excited about it. That's my thing. That's what I do.
And I think for so long, I didn't want to give him the direction because I wanted him to come up with it. And I wanted him to be like, oh, honey, do you want to go take a bath? It's been a long day. I've been out of town. Like that's what I thought was going to happen. But now I'm like, hey, I'm going to go take a bath. And if you could make sure the kids don't die, that would be great. And I know that seems really funny, but like he enjoys that. Like he likes the fact that, you know, the direction is there. So I can kind of understand, especially in this very overwhelming newborn days, you know, to give them direct jobs, how that could work really well.
Yeah. And you are the one that has been home all day.
Yep.
So you know what has happened. You know kind of what the routine is. Maybe you're starting to predict what that baby might need next. And he walks in sort of completely clueless to the whole environment. What's happened that day? Has it been a good day, a frustrating day? Is it time for the baby to eat, or is it time for the baby to take a nap? So it is good to give a little direction because you are the one coming with a little bit of that history from the day.
So how do you find a postpartum doula?
Oh, good question. So I know here in Richmond, there are organizations. We have one called Richmond Doulas. That's a group of postpartum doulas and birth doulas. So I would imagine a lot of larger to mid cities have things like that. There's also Doula Match is a national organization. So you can go online and look by your zip code and see who's available. Also, I would just ask around. It's definitely something that is getting more and more popular. Moms are just beginning to realize what postpartum doulas are and how they can be valuable. So maybe some of your friends have, used one before, and that might be a good resource. Or I would ask, if you go to prenatal yoga, or if you go to like an OB, like they would have some resources as well. A midwife would have some resources.
What is the going rate? Like what's the investment?
So in town, again, it probably depends on where you live, but here in Richmond, it's about $25 to $30 an hour. Generally, I would go for about 4 hours at a time. Anything less seems a little too fast, and anything longer, I kind of like moms to have some time by themselves during the day too, because again, they've got to kind of try on and,
figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out on their own. And then you go maybe the next day and they've got a bunch of questions they want to talk through. So 4 hours to me seem to be a good time slot. There are doulas that specialize in evening or overnight work, which I tried. I was miserable at it. I was so exhausted, and then I would come home and yell at my children because I was so tired.
It takes a special skill and special talent to make that work.
So they would come and answer your questions, but probably in a little bit more abbreviated time. Maybe do a couple little chores around the house, and then you, as the mom, would go to bed.
Wow.
They would take over primary responsibility for the infant and bring the baby to you to nurse. Or
you sure you don't want to start practicing that again? maybe come over in a few hours.
It is dreamy, right?
It sounds absolutely dreamy. If you could show up around 7 o'clock tonight, that'd be great, please.
But that time, like, it's not just nursing the baby at night, then it's settling them back down.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So the doula would just do that whole piece. And
then just bring them when they get hungry again?
Yeah.
Wow. It's kind of magical. But that's awesome. That's cool. What advice would you give other moms who may not be able to afford a postpartum doula in terms of how they can kind of navigate the postpartum period, either by themselves or with friends or family, or, what pieces of advice would you pass along to them?
So first, I would say that there's a lot of things that you get from a baby shower, and a lot of things that you don't need that you get from a baby shower. So first thing I would say is talk to other moms before you put that list together, because you may be able to get like that stream down a little bit more, and then be able to get people to pay for you to have a postpartum doula or some sort of support. So it's not always about you having to, put that money out. You could get that as a gift. Even if it's just 4 to 6 hours, that would be for like those first 10 days of having your babies. If someone came twice, that would really put you off on like a great foot and just help you, again, gain confidence and hear that you're doing great. Like, this is exactly what you should be doing. This is, all the feelings that you're feeling are completely valid. Let's talk through those a little bit more. So I think that, that's just one idea. So, but like, let's say that you don't have that as a resource at all. Couple things I would do is, a lot of people say, oh, tell me, if you need anything, let me know. I would come up with what those things are and tell them. Okay. So instead of being like, oh, that's so nice of you, thank you so much, I would say
drop off dinner on Wednesday. 4 o'clock. There's a cooler on the front porch. Thanks.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and we were talking about this the other day with another group. Those visitors that come and drop off food for you, you have no obligation to have them sit in your house for 20 or 30 minutes and hold your baby and talk to you. No obligation at all. Like, take that meal and say thank you so much. Like, when things calm down. Yeah. When things calm down, let's get together. But no obligation. But so I would say, come up with a couple things that you need. Maybe that's they run errands for you, or maybe they do come and hold your baby, or that like 7 to 9 time period.
Oh yeah.
At night.
Sure. Yeah.
Like when you're touched out and like they're fussy, maybe. If it's some sweet, mom or grandma or something that wants to come hold your baby, let them come hold your baby. Yeah. And they tend to get less worked up about all of those tears than you as the mother do. So give people specific things to do that when they ask that question. I would also say cut yourself a lot of slack. So you don't have to do the little, posting your 1 month, your 2 month, your 3 month on Instagram. You don't have to have your baby dressed in the cutest things all the time. You don't have to have your baby dressed at all.
Absolutely.
You don't have to do anything other than make that adjustment and focus on taking care of yourself and your baby, and everything else can wait. It'll still be there later. So cut yourself a lot of slack. That might mean a lot of takeout meals. That might mean you say no to a lot of things that sound like fun, but it's just not the time for right now.
I mean, I can say, I'll admit this, that Catherine's now 4.5 months old. I have not stepped foot in a grocery store since she was born. And I'm proud of that. We have resources now around, hopefully, most parts of the country, whether Amazon Prime or Instacart or something. We're lucky enough around here to be able to have groceries brought to us. Yes. And I understand it's a very large privilege I have in my life, but there's no part of me that feels like I need to go do that to be a successful mother. And we're eating takeout some nights, and that's okay. And it's more so because I know the older kids will actually eat dinner and it's less of a fight, and that's okay because that's how much energy I have left at the end of the day. And I think that we just all kind of need to take a deep breath and lower standards a little bit and realize that we're all going to be okay. But I think that there's such a large piece of all of this that we really, really need to start thinking about the postpartum while we're pregnant. And I think that we get excited about our baby coming, and we get excited about the birth, hopefully, and we think through how we want to have our baby. But then we need to think about what's going to happen after we have our baby, because I can tell you, when you're in the postpartum, you don't want to think about the postpartum. You want that basket of snacks already together next to your bed. You want the freezer meals in the freezer. You want the million onesies in the drawer because your baby's going to go through a million onesies. You want the second case of diapers that you think you're going to return from your baby shower because you don't need 2 cases. Yeah, keep that second case. Yeah, keep that second case. You're not going to want to run out. So if there's one thing that I can say as a mom of 5 is that think about it and think through it and read the blogs and kind of dig into what you think. I think I probably have 16 water bottles at home because I'm always losing them. But I know that if I don't have one on my bedside table in the middle of the night, I'm going to be miserable and I'm going to wish I did. So there's things that I think that we can all do and learn from each other and really, really prepare for that time.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I think because pregnancy and labor happens to us, we are very focused on making sure that we know what's going on and what's happening with our bodies. And that's important. But I agree. I think it's important during that time to prepare yourself for that postpartum period. It's a lot, like we've just talked about. It's role changes, it's identity changes, it's a whole new person in your life that yes, you love them, but you have to get to know them. It's a relationship. So Absolutely. A lot of that takes time and energy, and it's a 24-hour clock that we're not used to as people. We're used to sleeping in the middle of the night, but it's like this all of a sudden this 24-hour clock that we're on actually. And so I would definitely agree. Prepare, ask questions.
It doesn't have to be fancy. Like you said, it's not going and finding the stickers for the onesie outfits for each month. Like it's not, and if that's your jam, that's totally fine. And that's where you want to spend your time, but make sure your basic needs in the postpartum are met to begin with. Make sure that you have snacks. Make sure that you have books. Go to the used bookstore and get some books for the younger kids. Like, make them a box that they can play with while you're breastfeeding your new baby. You know, like I said, make sure there's freezer meals, or if you're not into freezer meals, get some frozen lasagnas or something like that. Just once that 37 weeks hit, where you know that you can have your baby and you've thought through everything about the birth and everything is set and the clothes are washed and you're ready to go, spend that extra time that most women have really, really thinking about how you're going to navigate the weeks after the baby comes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if you can afford and bring in a postpartum doula, great. If you can't, you know, make sure that you're prepared and you bring in some other resources. Thanks, April.
You're welcome. That was fun.